We're back here at Bring the Juice. All right. Joey, thanks for coming, giving us a couple minutes, man.
Frank.
This is. Let's start with the names.
Yeah.
I'm a Frank Joseph. You're a Joseph Frank?
Joseph Frank the fourth.
I would have been the fourth. My dad's name's Brian. He fucked the whole thing up. I would have been the fourth.
No, your grandparents fucked it up.
Yeah, maybe he just didn't look like a Frank.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's start with, obviously, you're a man of content. You're a man of creations, voices, all those good things.
Yeah.
When you go about saying, hey, I'm going to write this piece,
Sure.
how do you start off? Do you just everything come off the dome? Do you got a notepad?
It's like putting a big puzzle together. You know, you have to start off and you have to say, okay, what's happening here, right? If there's a modern Seinfeld that I'm doing, right? Okay, here's the premise. Jerry has a weird date where the chick takes a FaceTime call and George doesn't agree with that. That's the premise.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'm like, all right, well, what's Jerry's take going to be? George is obviously not going to like it, so how does he fit in that angle? Kramer's going to come in with something off the wall, right? So you start with the macro, and then little by little, then you eventually get down to the dialogue. But I have to block it out, to use the technical terms.
Right.
Block it out in my mind, get the premise down, and then the dialogue comes after. And it's the same with, if I do a Collinsworth and a Mahomes, it's the same thing. Right. Collinsworth and Mahomes talking before opening night. Collinsworth says he's an alien. The aliens are hot right now, and they get off on a riff on that, and then it comes together.
What is your, from a voice perspective, because you're talented, man.
Thank you.
Not everybody can pull that off.
Thanks.
How fast can you switch back and forth?
It just depends on who it is. I've done a few things before where I try to do however many, 10 in a minute or something like that, where people will throw a note card at me or my wife will flip it, who it's supposed to be. Yeah. But it's I got to go. It's key to have different styles back to back. If they're too similar, going from Mahomes to Coach O, it's too much in the same family.
Right.
If you go from Mahomes to Andrew Luck, then it's okay, that triggers in my brain to be able to be different. You know what I'm saying? So
I think you broke it down good there in the sense of you have to be the guy when you're thinking it over. It's not, and I say this because I can't do voices the way you can do voices, but I also understand that when you're making these pieces of content, it's not just one take, bang, bang, bang. People don't understand hours are going into this. It's being well documented, going out. What is the longest you've spent on one piece of content, and what's the shortest?
The longest, probably my Modern Seinfeld at the Super Bowl last year. That was a couple days in terms of plotting it, coming up with the dialogue, the script, acting out all the pieces,
right,
putting it all together. And honestly, an underrated part, Frank, the wardrobe changes.
Dude, I can imagine.
If I do
shit's all over the bed.
Yeah, if I do an Office, the Office in 2025, that could be up to 8 different character changes that I have to get a different tie, get a different jacket, get a different dress shirt, find a sweater of my wife's to play Angela or Meredith or something. So honestly, that is the biggest pain in the ass. That takes forever. But yeah, those could typically be a 2-day type of thing.
Right.
And then there's some that if it's hitting and it's popular and I just want to do Patrick Mahomes' take on opening night, then I can just open up the camera and just rip it. You know what I mean?
Rip it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite voice right now?
Ooh. I mean, Mahomes is super fun and popular because he's just been everywhere forever,
right,
at this point. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I play Mahomes on Howard Stern. So when I don't know if that's I don't know what they think or whatever, but yeah, so when they have Mahomes on the show, that's me.
Yeah.
And it's really fun just because it's so unique.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And it's it kind of fills that Coach O void for me because Coach O is living his life and isn't in the spotlight anymore. Right. So I don't really do him much, but Coach O obviously was
maybe here, you're here right away, let's sit here, have a Frank Alberto Juice, have a great time.
When you hear that, you know that it's Coach O, right? Just when you hear Patrick Mahomes, you know that it's Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah. But
I did hear someone said Patrick Mahomes and Kenny Powers sound exactly the same recently.
Yeah, people get him and Al Michaels confused a lot too. Okay. People a lot of times will be they'll say Kermit the Frog. They're do you take anything Kermit the Frog for Mahomes? I'm no, because Kermit the Frog is more Michaels. Right. Kermit the Frog is more, do you believe in miracles?
Right.
Yes. To the 10, the 5, touchdown. That's more Kermit, more Michaels. Whereas Mahomes, sure, he's kind of got that same nasally, but he's got so much in here.
Right.
He's got so much of the gravel in it too. You know what I mean? And so that's the difference that Kermit doesn't have that.
Right. How have you communicated with Patrick Mahomes ever about this? He's had to have swiped up at some point.
I have not. I know that I had a show in Kansas City. I had a stand-up show in Kansas City last year. And great turnout, great crowd. But a lot of the people afterwards, there was actually a few Chiefs employees that were there.
Okay.
And they were telling me, and I was like, oh, my God. I was like, look, it's all in good fun. Like, I try not to, like, put him in a bad light. I really think he's a great player, great guy. Like, I'm a big fan of him, and it's just fun. They're like, oh, no, everybody in the building loves it. Everybody sees it all the time, and we share it in the building everywhere. And they said to the show, Patrick, I don't know. I haven't had any interaction with them. I went on to the Combine last year, and the NFL account and a few other, like, pretty big outlets, like, picked because I was on with Eisen and Jeremiah, and I did Mahomes, and they kind of, like, people picked up on it. And they tagged him and me, and I didn't get a response. So I don't know. I don't know what the situation is there. But, hey, Pat, big fan of you. Think you're a great dude, great player. And it's all in good fun just doing your voice sometimes.
I seriously think, I don't have a unique voice and I ain't shit, but at the end of the day, like, it's not insulting. Like, you're making content. It's entertaining as hell, if anything.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and that's one thing that, like.
And he's a locker room guy, too, man.
I know, right?
He's
Come on.
Boy, he slams fucking brewskis
right.
on Saturdays.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Collinsworth, I tell this story. Collinsworth talked to one of my boys who was on the Bengals at the time, and because my friend brought up to him, he's like, Joey Mulinaro? And Collinsworth said it perfectly. He just said, the thing I love about Joey is he's never mean-spirited. So there you go. Like, I'm not trying to tear anybody down, or I'm just putting him in situations you wouldn't normally find him in and having fun with it.
What's your big board? You mentioned Seinfeld, and I'm rewatching Seinfeld for the 85th time right now.
Yeah.
I actually had a dream about George Costanza last night.
Nice.
Anything.
Yeah.
It was, ironically, he was in velvet, laced in velvet.
Okay.
I woke up and I called my mom and was like, why the fuck am I dreaming about George Costanza right now?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Did you tell your wife?
My wife is watching Seinfeld for the first time
all
the way through with me. It's
what an
kind of one of our going to sleep shows. It was Office.
Great going to sleep show.
75 times we've watched The Office.
Did you? Okay, so it's in the lace. Did it move?
Did not move.
It did not move?
Did not move.
All right.
The shrinkage was probably just at some point.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was at on the plane ride here from California. I was watching some Jerry threw the watch out, and Uncle Leo found it on the trash can.
Yes.
And Kramer right now is banned from getting the papayas, the fruits.
Okay. Yeah.
My wife's like finally starting to get into it. I'm like,
it's great.
Fucking Kramer, man.
Great.
That's George Costanza.
Yeah, come on. All time.
What are you doing here?
Two of the top 5 TV characters of all time in the same show. Kramer and
could not
Costanza.
agree more.
Kramer and Costanza. Either.
But you see something like Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And you're in the comedy world.
Yeah.
Have you considered saying, like, I'm going to shoot my shot and start Joey?
Kind of, yeah. It's such a process, man. There's things that I'm trying to develop, and then you're always trying to, develop pitches and develop a whole entire show idea, these characters and a hook that would make people want to watch. So totally, like if you're asking like big picture, big board, yeah, that all absolutely is. If I could have a sitcom that ran for 5 years and it's inspired by, what I grew up on, Seinfeld, The Office, Curb Your Enthusiasm, those kind of things. Total dream, but it's a process. Like
totally.
There's people out there who they've worked their ass off and they've made it far enough to where like they just have the ability to say, and rightfully so, just be like, hey, this is an idea that I want to do, and people are like, yep, let's go.
Right.
I'm at the spot right now where like I got to make an undeniable pitch. I got to make a show that people can't turn their heads away from, and that's what I'm working on.
It might be a show about nothing.
It could
be a show about nothing.
Some of the best ones are, right?
My wife compares me to Michael Scott in certain essences of our life.
That's great.
I like to have simple fun. I believe in just the easy humor of life, similar to how Seinfeld is kind of ran. When you meet a person, especially in the locker room, like playing ball at Fresno State, there was guys on the team who loved The Office, and there was guys on the teams who didn't like The Office.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can't like The Office. There's people who say a guy like Will Ferrell isn't funny, and I just say I don't see that side of things.
Well, that's what helps me sleep at night, honestly, is that, I always say, like, my mom doesn't like the Beatles. Who the hell don't like the Beatles, right? Like, no matter who you are, no matter how successful you are, no matter you're Will Ferrell, funniest dude ever, there's always going to be people who are just like, I just don't get it,
Who do you think's the funniest dude of all time? Top couple. Who's your top guys? Not
Funniest
stand up.
movie
You
of
could
all
go
time.
stand ups. You could do content media type shit, or you could do just this guy's movies are just lights out.
I mean, I grew up on Adam Sandler, so all of Sandler's movies, obviously, that's like a Bible to me, of what I grew up on. So, Sandler, I think David Spade's hilarious, Dana Carvey, Frank Caliendo, Ben Polizzi, Dave Chappelle,
Yeah.
Chris Rock, the legends, the classics.
There's some.
John Mulaney, I love John Mulaney. His writing and how he performs on stage. Seinfeld, obviously, the way that he is such an artist and a scientist with how he creates his act. Those are all my top 10, if you will, inspirations.
It is being in the content game now, like watching Seinfeld again for the however many time. You look at it, even The Office. I know we're referencing those two the most right now. Seinfeld's they're geniuses with the way they did it.
Yeah.
And it was for years, like they had a legit 20-year era or something like that.
Yeah.
Lights out.
Well, 9-year run, but I mean, they
Still-
live on. That's what I'm saying is that
25 and I'm watching this.
people are watching it, people are falling asleep to it. It's still on Netflix. So that's the goal, man. Yeah, to do that, something like that, obviously.
What's your funniest? What do you think's the funniest movie all time right now?
Funniest movie of all time?
Yeah, for you.
Oh, I mean, I grew up on Superbad.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Maybe that's not the funniest movie of all time, but that's one of those that like I'm going to be showing my son at a time that he probably shouldn't watch it.
Yeah.
Right? Like my dad wanted to show
Right.
me, Animal House and Caddyshack and all of those because that was his generation.
Right.
For me, it's like I vividly remember where I was when I was in 8th grade and I watched Superbad for the first time when it came out. And it was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is the craziest thing. This is insane. So I'm the Superbad generation kid for sure.
Plug-
But it's like,
McLovin.
yeah, but then
Named
those
by
other
Cat McLovin.
because of the movie?
Strictly.
Yeah, of course. But then you got the Tommy Boys, all the
Of
Sandlers.
course.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off for me is big. That whole Judd Apatow run, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up is funny, kind of dark in a way, a little bit.
A little fucked up.
Once you watch it later on, and you're in that stage of life
in
and
that
everything, you're kind of like, oh man, this is funny, but like also that's tough.
It's a big life transition.
Yeah. But those are definitely just some that I'm just like, yep. My son Frank, when you're 10, let's watch Superbad, son.
Yeah. Sit down.
Take your mom's away for the weekend or watch
Exactly.
Superbad.
Bingo. What about ball? I mean, I know you got a passion for certain athletes. It feels like obviously the Patrick Mahomes tie. Who's your team? Who's your teams in general? And do you tend to want to imitate, mimic, do content based off those teams more than others, or are you more looking at personalities?
No, looking at personalities, look at what's hot, what's trending. You know what I mean? What people are talking about. But I mean, I'm a diehard Steelers fan. I'm on kind of a hiatus with them right now, just because it was a really rough end of the year.
Fuck, man, you gotta get over.
It's you just kind of feel like you're on a hamster running in place right now. But I'll always love them. Die hard. I have a tattoo for them. But right now, it's just still the wound's a little bit fresh still.
It's still this season. I mean, it's Super Bowl week right now.
Right.
It's still this season. Let the combine go by.
Once the
turning
combine's
of
back in my
age,
backyard in Indy, I'll be ready to go.
You'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Aces.
I'll be like, hey, if we get that guy in the third round, we're good.
What do you
Yeah.
need right now? What do the Steelers need right now?
Quarterback. I need a quarterback. That's obvious, but really would not be surprised if many of the draft picks this year were influx on the defensive front. We're getting up there, defensive front. Don't have a lot of depth at defensive line. We need some. And I say we. I'm one of those guys. I do need some of those. Need some dudes who can take up space, who can really whoop some people's ass up front, control the line of scrimmage, and just because I think 4 out of our last 5 games, and that we lost five game losing streak in the year. I mean, the Ravens ran for 300 yards.
Can't have that.
Cannot.
Not going to win playoff
just
football games that way.
and it's just not who the Steelers should be. You just can't have that. So if I had my way of it, my picks, I would use the money and free agency we have to try to get some weapons, big-time weapons on the outside, and then a lot of my young capital in the draft would be dedicated to let's get some DNs, let's try to get another Casey Hampton type. Let's get some big fellas in there to really bring us
We need
back to playing
some
Steelers.
dogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Has anybody ever interviewed you and you are doing the voice of someone else the whole time? Like you're answering the way they would think and all that stuff?
Yeah, I've done a couple of hits, especially like at the start 5 years ago or so. Like people would have me on, like Baton Rouge, ESPN Baton Rouge, my boy T-Bob. They would have me on to be essentially just Coach O. So I do like Coach O with them. They'd bring me on as Coach O, and I'd do 5 questions or whatever. Andrew Luck, so that would happen all the time. Yeah. Now I've kind of, Frank Caliendo, one of my mentors, the best ever to do it, he always said, for every one impression video or bit that you do 4 or 5 original videos, original characters, original bits. So you can kind of hopefully weed out a little bit of like, yeah, Joey does voices, but he's also Joey.
Right.
And so now I feel like I've gotten definitely people still, and rightfully so, and I love doing the voices.
Right.
But people now more so have been like, oh, we just want to have Joey on.
Yeah.
And if you do Mahomes, cool. But like, it's not like, hey, we're just doing, Mahomes is here with us, and then I'm gone, unless I'm on Stern, and then that's different.
No. I mean, I'm interested in it, man, because you do have it's not like you can't go to college for this. You don't go to school for this. Yeah. You can't do any of that shit. You really just got to kind of go off the dome. And, social media has changed so much in the last year, 10 years, 5 years, whatever you want to call it, to where you truly are a fucking pioneer of this shit.
Oh, well, thank you, man.
No, seriously.
Thank you.
And I think,
well, look at you, man. You're doing it at home. You're starting your folks. I mean, now you got a Radio Row. This is great. This is insane.
Wheeling and dealing, we like to say it.
Yeah.
Wheeling and fucking dealing. But at the end of the day, like, when you are doing something like yourself where there isn't really a copy and paste, like there's been other podcasts. I could look at what Joe Rogan could do. I could see what Pardon My Take's doing, the Barstool dudes and whatnot, and kind of get an idea. And the inner athlete in me has always been like, how am I going to separate myself from the pack?
Yeah.
Right? There's fucking 200 podcasts here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chicks that are sevens that have a simp video guy walking around and they're asking questions about, what do you see on this picture?
There's just a lot of content.
A lot of content. It becomes, it's now getting overloaded to where I'm mentally going, how am I going to separate myself from the pack?
Yeah.
I know that when I have dudes on the show, like I said, we're at Radio right now. I can't give you the full Bring the Juice experience. If you said, hey, Frank, I'm in, let's do the full thing. I want to feel it. We'd fly you to town. We'd fly you to Fresno. We'd take you, get you a nice tri-tip sandwich at Doghouse Grill. Bring you to the house, big studio, whatever cocktail you got. We got the
sounds great, man. I'm ready.
Steak dinners.
Come on.
Fly you back the next day. It's boom, boom. If you like to golf, we have a great.
Love to golf.
Oh, dude. So we host a celebrity program golf tournament every year.
Nice.
It's coming up March 7th. We have about 50 NFL players coming to it.
Damn.
It's fucking awesome, man.
Oh, good for you.
If you're around, 100%, we take care of everything.
Well, please hit me up. I would love to come out and see the full experience. That sounds phenomenal.
I'm not. Last week, I was at a Hyatt Regency in Frisco for the East-West Shrine game.
Yeah.
I was enjoying a nice tequila soda.
Good.
And Michael Vick walks in. And
one of my favorite random Steelers of all time, Mike Vick.
That's
like
jersey.
my. Yeah, I was about to say that's like my white whale of jerseys. The Mike Vick 2 Pittsburgh Steelers jersey.
I explained to him the golf tournament. He's like, dude, I'm in.
Yeah.
Then I proceeded to say, would you like to take a shot of tequila with me? We proceeded to do 2.
Nice.
And now I have, a contact with Mike Vick. Tequila brings people together, Joe.
Sure does. And it can take people apart, too. You got to remember that. It's a fine line.
It's a full circle type thing.
It's a very full circle, fine line type of experience.
I love that.
You got my info, though. Hit me up. I'd love to come out there, be with the boys, and check it all out.
We like to get a little active. My last thing. You got the lettuccino going right now.
Thanks, brother.
My son came out of the womb with lettuce.
Yeah.
And when I was playing ball, I had the main going. What's the drive? What's the drive? Because how old are you right now?
31.
31.
Yeah.
My mom, she bitches at me when I get too much lettuce.
Yeah.
What is the story on how long you're going to keep the lettuce, and at what point would you have to cut it?
I had it down past the shoulders for a bit in COVID. Those are dark times, so don't want to do that. But I don't know, man. I just kind of to your point, it's like I'm 31. I'm trying to hold on as long as I can. Who knows? In 5 years, I might not be able to do this.
Yeah.
My dad, he still got enough on top, but he ain't doing this, right? And so I just want to be able to have that and say, like, look, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I got a head full of hair. It's big for an aging man, right?
Look at me.
So that's the main drive. And I say right about this length probably. I'll probably get a little trim once I get back from the Super Bowl. But hey, dude, I wear hats all the time. I like the lettuce out the back. I'm a baseball player at heart.
Come on.
Throwing some Zen, throwing a chew, put the hat on. I'm back in my element. I'm back in my element,
You got to find that pace.
Right.
You know what? Just like cigars, smoke them if you got them.
That's
Joey.
right.
Smoke
Absolutely.
them if you got them. I got my brothers can't grow out the lettuce. They get these little munchy chi haircuts going. Let it
flow.
Good times roll.
Let it roll, baby. Yeah.
Let it roll
For sure.
Joey, I appreciate your time, bro. Definitely, we'll stay in contact, get you a hat, but Godspeed, brother.
Hey, you too, bro. Great to meet you, Frank.
Absolutely.
Yep.